It was an unusually quiet night in the small, sleepy town of Meadowbrook. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the faint rustle of leaves as a chilly breeze swept through the neighborhood. Near the edge of town, in an abandoned alleyway littered with old newspapers and discarded scraps, a stray dog named Rocky was rummaging for food. Rocky, a golden retriever mix, had once belonged to a loving family, but when hard times hit, they were forced to abandon him, leaving him to fend for himself. Despite his hardships, Rocky had a kind heart and an unusual intelligence that set him apart from other stray dogs. As he sniffed around, his ears perked up at an unfamiliar sound, a faint muffled cry. At first he froze, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him, but the sound came again, this time louder. It wasn't just a random noise, it was the desperate wail of a baby. Rocky followed the sound, weaving through the piles of trash and broken furniture until he reached a large, overturned trash bin. The cries were coming from inside. Rocky nudged the bin with his nose, but it wouldn't budge. Desperate, he clawed at it, barking frantically, hoping someone, anyone, would come to help. But the alley remained silent, the town asleep. Determined, Rocky pushed his weight against the bin with all his might. Finally, it tipped over with a loud crash, revealing what had been hidden inside. There, wrapped in a filthy, tattered blanket, was a newborn baby. Rocky stepped closer, his nose gently nudging the tiny bundle. The baby's cries softened, as if sensing that Rocky wasn't a threat, but a protector. The baby was cold, its face pale and its tiny hands trembling. Rocky could sense the urgency of the situation. This little life needed help, and fast. Without hesitation, Rocky carefully gripped the edge of the blanket in his teeth, lifting the baby as gently as he could. He began his journey through the dark streets of Meadowbrook, his paws padding softly against the pavement. Rocky didn't know exactly where to go, but his instincts led him toward the town's small hospital, the only place he knew might help. It was a long trek, and the baby's faint cries tugged at Rocky's heart. He moved faster, his legs aching but his determination unwavering. After what felt like an eternity, the warm glow of the hospital's entrance came into view. Rocky trotted toward it, barking loudly to get someone's attention. Inside, Dr. Elena Hayes was finishing her late-night rounds. She was about to head home when the sound of barking reached her ears. At first she thought it was just another stray wandering by, but the barking was insistent, almost urgent. Curious, she walked to the glass doors and froze at the sight before her. There, standing under the bright hospital lights, was a stray dog holding a baby in a tattered blanket. "Oh my God!" Her heart skipped a beat as she rushed to the doors, flinging them open. Dr. Hayes quickly carried the baby inside, Rocky following close behind. Nurses and staff gathered, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief as they saw the scene unfold. The baby was rushed to the emergency room, and Dr. Hayes immediately began examining him. He was malnourished, dehydrated, and his body bore signs of neglect. But against all odds, he was alive. While the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize the baby, Rocky sat quietly in the corner, his eyes fixed on the operating room door. It was as if he understood the gravity of the situation, his loyalty keeping him rooted in place. Hours later, Dr. Hayes emerged, her face weary but relieved. Dr. Hayes said, "He's going to make it." A cheer erupted, and Rocky wagged his tail, sensing the good news. As the baby recovered, the story of his miraculous rescue spread through the town like wildfire. Local news stations picked up the story, and Rocky became a hero overnight. People were astounded by the dog's courage and intelligence, and many wondered how he had developed such a strong sense of empathy despite his own hardships. The police launched an investigation to find out who had abandoned the baby. Within days, they identified the child's mother, who admitted to leaving him in the trash, claiming she couldn't care for him. She was taken into custody, but the baby's future still hung in the balance. Dr. Hayes, who had grown attached to the little boy, decided to adopt him. She named him Jacob and vowed to give him a life filled with love and care, a life he had almost lost if not for Rocky. As for Rocky, he found a home too. Dr. Hayes couldn't bear to part with the dog who had saved Jacob's life. Rocky became a permanent member of their family, spending his days playing with Jacob and basking in the love he had so long been denied. Years later, Jacob, now a healthy and happy boy, would tell anyone who would listen about the night Rocky saved his life. "Rocky wasn't just a hero, he was my guardian angel."